Kevin here with etrailer, and today we're going to be taking a closer look at Dexter's double lip grease seal for 3,700 pound marine hubs. The grease seal is an important component when we are setting up our hub assembly here. This is what is going to be the piece that keeps all of the grease inside of your hub and on the spindle here, so it maintains that lubrication so that your bearings don't overheat and that they can properly spin as your wheels are moving when you're out on the road. A grease seal has to be a very, very precise measurement for this. So typically what you're going to want to do is look at the face of your grease seal and see if you can still see that part number. A lot of the time it's going to wear off over use, so you really can't always go off just that. So that's where we start looking at our hub and at our spindle. Now, what we're going to want to do is figure out what the diameter is on our spindle for our inner diameter, and then what the diameter is inside of our borehole of our hub for the outer diameter. So I've got a caliper with me right now. This is a mechanical one. We offer a digital one so it can make it a little bit easier for you, but let's get this set up. So right now I am on the journal of our spindle for our grease seal, so that's where that's going to rest, and it looks like we're right where we need to be. Let me tighten this down. May have gone up just a little bit there, but essentially what we're looking at is on our mechanical one, it's going to go in inch increments. So right now we're at 1 inch. We're not quite to that 7 yet, we're at 6, so 1.68 since we're at 80 here, and then we would just count those little dashes. So what this should be saying is 1.687. We kind of went a little bit over there just as I was taking it off. I should have tightened it up before I pulled it off. But you can see we're at 1.689 at this point right now. If I loosened it back up, put it on the spindle, we'd probably get it right back to that point. But for the other diameter that we're looking at here, bring that back in. That's kind of why digital one's a little bit easier to read, makes it a lot quicker. Now we're going to go with the smaller of the two. You can see this side has those 2 points kind of coming in together. This one has it going outwards. So for the bore hole, we're sitting right there. Let me tighten that down. And we're at 2.5, and that looks like 2.524. This is probably a little bit bigger because I know for a fact our grease seal is going to be 1.687 inches for our inner diameter, and for the outer diameter it's going to be 2.561. So that's really what we're looking for. I know I said this is for 3,700 pound marine hubs, but if you find that your dimensions match up, this grease seal is going to be an option for you. Now to get this in, typically in most grease setups, we're going to be rubbing just a little bit of grease on the outside of this before we actually press it into our idler hub or hub assembly here. And in this case, we are using a different component today. So we have a Dexter Vault hybrid grease, which is a mixture of grease and oil. And with this specific one, we are supposed to put a gasket maker on the outside of our seal here. So that is going to help still slide it in while it's still liquidy. But once that dries up, it's going to have a nice sealed up assembly here, because we're also going to be adding on the Dexter Vault on the outside as our grease cap. So for this one, I will get started with rubbing on that gasket maker. And typically with the grease, what I'll do is I'll just kind of dab my pinky into the hub after I'm done repacking the bearings, and that's usually a good amount to kind of throw on here. But with this one being just slightly different setup, I'm going to go a little bit thicker than I normally would. And before you get all that on there, it's good to get your tools ready in advance, because we want to make sure that this seal presses in and it's nice and flush with our hub assembly here, but we don't want to go so far in to where it's going to be pushed down past that lip. So what I typically use is just the back side of a hole saw that's wider than the bore hole, but you could also use just a 2x4 if you don't have a hole saw laying around. Just make sure that you have somewhat of a harder wood. You don't want something like pine where it's going to end up pressing in and possibly running that seal a little bit too low. So with that, let's start hammering it in. And then we just want to kind of rub our finger along there and just see that it's nice and flush. If we need to, we can make some more adjustments, but that's actually feeling pretty good right there. So I'm going to wipe off the excess gasket maker real quick. And now at this point, we can make sure that our bearings are ready, so that way we can throw it up onto our spindle. And I'm going to spray a little bit more grease onto our spindle first and get that coated up, so that way when we go to put our hub assembly on, it'll slide right on, not scratch up our spindle. So I'm going to get a good healthy glob on here. And we are going to fill this in some more. I have a little grease zerk fitting that we're going to be putting on too. And once we have the hub assembly on, we'll completely encase this whole spindle in grease. We're all ready to go. Now, one thing you can do is just take a little dab of that grease and just rub it on the inner lip of our grease seal here, and that'll help transition a little bit smoother. Nothing too crazy. We don't want a bunch of grease getting to the back here, because we don't want that getting all over our rotor or onto our brake pads. But then we can pop this in. You'll kind of feel it press back just a little bit extra, and then from there we're going to pop in our already packed up outer bearing. So you can see I got that all greased up. Now it is a little goofy just because, you know, typically when we're looking at grease, we're taking black, gross looking grease out, and we're putting in like a red or a blue. And in this case, it's already black, so just a little bit odd. From there, throw on our spindle washer, and then our spindle nut. And I'm going to grab my torque wrench. We are going to torque this to spec, and that's what's going to fully seat our bearings so that we have no play. And once we do that, we're going to grab both sides of our rotor and kind of shake on it to see if there is any play in it. And if there is, then that's when we need to tighten it again and make sure that we get rid of that play. And it really isn't much, so don't go crazy with the torque wrench. And then once we have it torqued, that'll seat the bearing. You can give it a couple of spins. That'll also help kind of throw some of that grease around inside of there. Check it again. Another good spin. Give it a wobble, see if you're getting any play out of it. We're not getting any play, so at this point what I'm going to do is I'm going to back that nut back off, because we don't want it to be super tight. We don't want it to pinch our bearings. So I'm going to get that just loose enough to where I can come back by hand and then tighten it the rest of the way up. And you just want that, like I said, hand tight. And then after that, we're going to throw on our retainer and make sure that we're lining it up with the hole in our spindle. Not cooperating too well. There we go. And then we'll grab our cotter pin and we can pop that into place. Now that we have our whole hub assembly all in place, we've got our vault in as well. That's going to do it for our install. The only thing I have left to do here is just throw our caliper back on and torque that to spec, get our wheels on, torque those down to spec as well, and then we're going to be all good to take our boat out and get out on the lake. Well, that's going to do it for our look at the Dexter double lip grease seal for 3,700 pound marine hubs. My name's Kevin, and if you still have some questions about what's going to be the right grease seal for your trailer setup, please feel free to reach out to us via our Ask the Experts link, a comment on this video, or a phone call to our customer service department, and we'd be happy to help you out on your journey.